Hey everybody, it's C-Vine News. I'm Valley Hart.
And I'm Leonard Bicani.
And we have some breaking stories that we are happy to bring to you tonight. We are still here in Washington, D.C. We are not leaving. We are covering some live events, one of which is 2 more J6 prisoners have been released from the Washington, D.C. jail tonight, known as the Gulag. As you may remember, President Trump signed an executive order last Monday ordering that all nonviolent J6 prisoners be released. And Mayor Muriel Bowser decided she is the queen for the day and she does not have to cooperate, and she decided to defy his orders. And so approximately 1,500 J6 prisoners were released from prisons and jails all throughout the country, except for Muriel Bowser. She decided not to, and she has been defiant in the face. And what we've learned is the majority of prisoners who have not been released are not being released because they weren't charged with anything. Can you believe that?
No, can you imagine being in custody for more than 4 years and just not having any charges brought up against you? I thought we had a constitutional right to fair and speedy trial.
Yes, and so any of you who joined us the other night as we went live in front of the Washington, D.C. jail may remember that I interviewed Johnny Pollock and his father, Ben Pollock. And his father led everyone in a prayer and bowed his head and was weeping with joy. But unfortunately, Johnny's sister, Olivia Pollock, was still incarcerated. And so they've been in our prayers. You may have seen on our X feed and on YouTube, we created a video with Jake Lang, who was kind enough to give us an interview and has consented after he eats and sleeps and this is over to give us a more in-depth interview. But he gave us an interview and we put together a 59-second clip that we have asked everyone far and wide to share. Call your congressman, do whatever you can to get them out. But today, Olivia Pollock was released and we're so happy to report that. And I want to say this correctly, that the allegedly when Olivia was released and we were all waiting for her to come out the front door, she did not. They put her in a van and they drove her a couple blocks away and they let her out on the freezing cold snowy streets here with cloth shoes on and no ID and no coat and no dad's arms or mama's hug to walk into while everyone's waiting with their microphones and just wanting to love her and see that she's truly free after all of this. So it's been traumatic.
We do have some news. We have some names of those that were released. Valley, do you want to read some of these names?
Yep. We didn't want to miss anyone or leave anyone out. So one of those that we have heard that has been moved to another facility that there is rumor it might be Florida, it might be Philadelphia, is someone who's been on our mind a lot, Master Sergeant Green Beret Jeremy Brown. And he has been one of those in particular that there have been stories from J6 prisoners who have been released that he has been abused constantly because he was a Green Beret. They took particular pleasure in seeing if they could break him. So prayers out for Jeremy Brown. We do not know where he is right now. Also Daniel Ball, Andrew Grigsby, Daryl Neely, Theodore Middendorf, Jason Talbot, and we are pleased to report Joseph Hutchinson was also released today. So Joseph and Olivia Pollock were released from the DC facility and they are out, and it's going to take a while to get through this.
Right, but prayers were answered. We last night, when we talked to some of these J6 prisoners, they were some of them who were just released less than 24 hours earlier from different states. They drove how many hours in solidarity, in support of those that were being held in the DC Gulag to hold vigil there until their release. So, and as far as I know, many of them are still there.
Yes, and Joseph Hutchinson allegedly was actually released first, but he refused to leave the DC jail until Olivia Pollock was also released because he did not want to leave her behind.
That's her sister.
It's Johnny's sister. Yeah. And so he would not leave because 2 people were released from there tonight, and he promised he would stay and he would not leave her behind. And to my knowledge, she was the only female still, so I can't even imagine the trauma, but hopefully she will sleep well tonight. Prayers were answered, and now we need to get the others safe, and we need to get some people cooperating with President Trump's executive order.
Well, it's just the audacity of some of these officials. We have a judge who's a militant judge who's not who's throwing roadblocks. Obviously, the mayor, but some of these people need to go to jail. Frankly,
Mayor Muriel
Bowser.
I have a mental block to her trauma. Mayor Muriel Bowser, we are watching you. The world is watching you.
Yes.
And this is a direct order from the President of the United States for all nonviolent J6 prisoners to be released. And can you imagine that one of the reasons you're not being released is because you've never been charged with anything? And so since you were detained illegally, they're not sure how to, quote, undetain you.
It's crazy. This whole situation is just crazy. They've suffered enough. Like we said earlier, many of them have been in custody for more than 4 years without having a single charge, being charged, and no trial, no nothing.
Some of you popped on when we tried to do a live a few minutes ago,
Yeah.
and our internet was horrible. But we have a great breaking news story to share with you now. Many of you are familiar with the story with Bevin Williams, who is the mother of 3 with the beautiful heart that was praying outside an abortion clinic. And she was arrested, she was incarcerated, and she has been away from her family for a long time. So this isn't the ideal way to do this, but I'm going to turn my screen around so our handy dandy cameraman here, Jonathan, can let you see this beautiful woman, Bevin, right here with her kids and her family. President Trump signed an executive order tonight allowing 23 of the people who had been arrested for praying outside abortion clinics to go free. And he was very moved, and he said, "It's my honor to sign this."
Yes.
This should have never happened. Many of them were elderly.
Yes, this happened just a few hours ago, so this is definitely breaking news. So for Beverly and the 22 others that were released along with this executive order from the president is a clear victory for First Amendment right, freedom of speech. Obviously they incarcerated her for her First Amendment right and for free speech, praying in front of an abortion clinic. It's just horrible.
Yes, and we've really learned some things while we've been here live in Washington, D.C. We attended President Trump's victory rally the first day on Sunday. We just posted a video about that, and so I highly encourage you to click on that, take a look. We take you inside the victory rally with us, and we give you highlights and great moments, and we actually pick out different people and interview them, and it's really fun. You'll get the vibe like you were there. It's amazing. Then the next day, we did the inauguration, and we'll be dropping the video on that, and we're kind of highlighting many things about that. And then the next day, we ended up going to the DC jail/gulag and doing live interviews, going live on our YouTube channel on CVine News. And we interviewed many of the J6 prisoners who were just released, and all of them graciously consented to allow us to follow up once they've rested and slept and they're in a better space to get their in-depth stories.
Yeah, and as soon as we learned that President Trump had signed the executive order releasing the J6 hostages, we knew that some of these prisoners were being held at the DC jail, so we took the cab right away, and we just as quickly as possible. And as soon as we got boots on the ground, it was amazing. Some of these prisoners were released, and we were able to talk to them. So look for those interviews. Look for our live interview. I think it was over an hour long. It's just raw footage. I mean, there's a lot of dead time in between, but and it was an hour long, but it was raw footage, and
we were getting them right when they were walking out the front door.
Right.
And it was incredible. And I'm going to say this. Sometimes God works in mysterious ways. Had we a map and had we been asked to be at certain points at certain times, we could not have timed it better, because the people with whom we did the interviews were all in different locations, and random, and we could not have known where they would be. And we just ended up with a microphone in our hand in the right place at the right time to help share their stories with people like you. So please keep them in your prayers. Please know that we are still here in Washington, D.C. We will be updating you soon. I'm Valley Hart.
And I'm Leonard Bacani.
For Seavine News.